So the research is all about the contemporary Muslim view of Christianity in Ethiopia and how the Muslim view of Christianity influenced interreligious harmony. So the context, as you know, Ethiopia is located in the Horn of Africa and is one of the ancient nations in Africa, and Christianity came to the country in the 4th century. So not only Christianity come in the early age, but Islam also came to Ethiopia just in the early age of Islam, especially in the time of Muhammad, when the Muslim migrants came to Ethiopia, Abyssinia, and they were well received by the Abyssinian king. And that was the first encounter between Muslims and Christians in Ethiopia. Since then, the two communities have lived together in harmony, despite having some occasional conflicts, especially in 6th century. There was a war between Muslims and Christians, and Muslims conquered many parts of the country. But later on, the Christian hegemony restored again, and Muslims become the minority and subjugated. So after this period, especially after 16th century, there was a relative harmony and peaceful coexistence between Muslims and Christians. But problems of interreligious misunderstanding and conflicts have increased in recent years. There are conflicts between Muslims and Christians, both in Muslim majority area and even in Muslim minority areas in the country. There were burning of churches and even persecution of new believers. Yeah. So you can see the map of Ethiopia just to give us a highlight about the distribution of Islam in Ethiopia. In the eastern part of Ethiopia, you can see the dark section that is Muslim majority area. Over 90% of the population is Islam, especially in Afar and Somali regional states. And there is also this green part in the center, southern and the western part of the country. This green area is, Muslims and Christians are almost equal. That means 50-50%. And there is a huge competition between the two religions. There is a gray area in the northern part and in the southwestern part. Those areas are Christian majority, and Muslims are a significant minority. So we can see that Islam is spread all over the country, and of course, Muslims and Christians are living together in many parts of Ethiopia. So Muslims know about Christians, and Christians know about Islam, and they have a strong interaction between the two groups in many parts of the country. So why this research? Actually, there are some factors that motivated me to do this research. The first one is my personal background. That's why I was a Muslim, and now I am a Christian and have many Muslim families and friends. And I regularly, on daily basis, I interact with Muslims. So that prompts me to do this research, to identify what is the Muslim view of Christianity and how Muslims and Christians interact in Ethiopian context. The second motivation is my ministry engagement with Muslims. The last 20 years, I involved in doing ministry among Muslims and teaching courses on Christian-Muslim relations and writing books and articles related to Christian-Muslim relations. So these two factors prompted me to do this research. So I employed a qualitative research method to gather data, and the field data were gathered by analyzing documents, Muslim documents and participant observations in 7 Ethiopian cities. There are 7 cities which both Muslims and Christians are living together. In some cities, Muslims are the majority and Christians are the minority. On other cities, actually, the Christians are the majority and Muslims are the minority. So Addis Ababa and Hawassa, those are Christian majority areas. And Shashmane, Jimma, Dredawa, Harar, and Dasi, those are Muslim majority area and Christians are the minority. And the field data was also gathered from the villages surrounding those cities. Concerning the Muslim documents, actually I collected documents which are written in Amharic language, particularly, and which talks about mainly a Muslim view of Christianity or Christians. So I collected 28 books and 13 audiovisual materials and 41 newspaper articles, which were published in Hikmah, Salafia, and Hayat newspaper in a 5-year period. So those documents were read and analyzed and finally compared with data which were collected by participant observation. So the finding of the research shows that the Christian-Muslim encounter in Ethiopia is unique and more nuanced than the previous theological and sociological scholarship recognized. So it shows that there are 6 different types of Muslim theological views of Christians and Christianity. And there are also 5 sociological models of patterns of relationship rather than a binary approach of understanding interreligious relations, like confrontational and conciliatory. This is a binary approach, but the Ethiopian context shows that Muslims and Christians have 5 different kinds of or patterns of relationship between the two. So there are also there are various demographic and socio-religious factors, those influencing community relationship, and those factors have implications for interreligious harmony. So the finding shows that those 3 areas are somehow unique to Ethiopian context. So Ethiopian Islam is it's an old one, and Christian-Muslim relation in Ethiopia goes back to the time of Muhammad, and it is a very complex and complicated relationship. So it is very difficult to identify, just like binary and approach, that means confrontational and conciliatory. So it goes further that categorization. So when the data was analyzed, based on Muslim views of Christianity and Christians and other Christian teachings and even the Bible. So 7 categories were taken and analyzed based on the Muslim view of Christianity. The first one is the Muslim view of Christianity. The second one is the Muslim view of continuity between Islam and Christianity. And the third one is the Muslim view of the Bible. The fourth one is the Muslim view of Christian God. And the fifth one is the Muslim view of salvation of Christians. And the sixth one is the Muslim view of the church. And the last one is the Muslim view of Christians. So based on this analysis, there is a spectrum that was generated from the finding, spectrum of Muslim view of Christianity. So there are 6 different kinds of Muslim view of Christianity in Ethiopian context. The first one is the fundamentalist replacement. That is the most confrontational approach. And on the other end, there is a restrictive acceptance view. That is the most conciliatory approach. So there are these 6 different views of Muslim view of Christianity. So the second one is pragmatic replacement. The third one is partial fulfillment. And the fourth one is fulfillment. The fifth one is mutuality. And the last one is restrictive acceptance. So what does those views hold? Just let's see one by one. The first one is fundamentalist replacement. Muslims who hold such kind of views consider Christianity is a false religion and polytheistic. So Islam is the only true religion. Christianity is not true in any sense. And the Bible is a fabrication of anonymous authors. So those Muslims who have such views believe that all the biblical authors are anonymous and they are not really sent by God. And Allah is the only name of God, and Trinity is polytheism, and there is no salvation outside of Islam. And they believe also the church will face judgment of God because the church is disobedient to the will of God and went astray. So the church should be judged by God in the day of judgment. And they also believe Christians are arrogant, impure, demonic, and enemies of Islam. So there is nothing good in Christianity, according to this view. The second view is the Muslims who hold this view think that Christianity was invented by St. Paul, and it is syncretistic. They believe Christianity has no relation with Jesus. It's a fabrication of St. Paul. And God's covenant moved from Israel to Arabs. Because of the disobedience of the Jews, God moved his covenant from Israel, and now Muhammad came based on this covenant. So the Bible was authentic in its original form, but it's corrupted. So this view holds that there was a true Bible in the beginning, in the original form, but now it's already corrupted. There is nothing good, or there is no truth in the Bible. So the Christian God and Allah are not the same, and there is no salvation outside of Islam. Just like fundamentalist replacement view, this view also holds that there is no salvation outside of Islam. And the church is the source of falsehood, and Christians are unbelievers, immoral, but invite them for dialogue. So in this view, it's a bit conciliatory than fundamentalist replacement, and it allows a dialogue between Christians and Muslims. The third Muslim view is partial fulfillment. Muslims who hold this view believe that Christianity was invented as the Nicene Council, not by Paul. Christianity is an invention, but invented during the Council of Nicaea. And there is partial continuity between Islam and Christianity. That means there is continuity of prophethood and revelation, though the Bible is corrupted. The Bible is corrupted, but there was continuity between the Bible and the Quran, and continuity between the Old Testament prophets and Muhammad. And the Bible passages undermine God's attributes, because the Bible is corrupted, and that resulted, the Bible doesn't give a true message about God. But still, this view believes that there are rays of truth in the Bible that can lead Christians to Islam. So the purpose of those truths available in the Bible are just to lead Christians to Islam, not to help Christians to worship God. And it also believes, Muslims believe the church is divided and morally lenient, and some Christians are sincere, others are rebellion. Actually, in this view, Christians are divided into two. There are good Christians and there are bad Christians. So there is a dichotomy, and those sincere Christians, they believe that we can have dialogue and we can have social relations, but not religious. The fourth view is the fulfillment view. The Muslims who hold this view believe that there is continuity of revelation and continuity between Islam and Christianity. So it is not only the continuity of revelation, but there is continuity between Islam and Christianity. And Christianity was divine in the beginning, but especially after the Nicene Council, it deviated from its original intent and its original purpose. So Islam came to rectify Christianity. So the purpose of Islam is just to rectify Christianity. So that shows Islam is a continuation of Christianity. So those Muslims who believe this view believe that truth is available in the Bible, but Christians misinterpret it. And the Islamic and biblical concept of God are also the same. Both Muslims and Christians believe in monotheism. So in this view, they believe that Unitarian Christians are saved. Still, they believe there are Unitarian Christians and Trinitarian Christians. So Unitarian Christians will be saved, but Trinitarian will not. So the church deviated from its mission, and some Christians have sincere faith. They can be saved by their based on their faith and good deeds, and they are friendlier to Muslims than Jews. So the fifth view is the mutuality. The Muslims who believe this view believe that Abrahamic religions are true. All Christian groups, Judaism and Islam are true. So there is continuity, but no participation in religious practices. Muslims can worship their God, and Christians, they can worship their God, and they can perform their religious practices. But at the end of the day, both will go to heaven, to paradise. So as long as they believe in one God, that's okay. So most portion of the Bible is kept intact, and they also believe Abrahamic religions worship the same God, and they are channels of salvation. So any Christian group and Judaism and Islam, they are channels of salvation. So all churches are legitimate, and Christians are devout, humble, and friends to Muslims. The last Muslim view is the restrictive acceptance view. So Muslims who hold this view believe that Ethiopian Orthodox Church, not other churches, Protestant, Catholic, and other churches are excluded, and only Ethiopian Orthodox Church and Islam are true religions. And there is continuity between Islam and Christianity, particularly between Orthodox Christianity and Islam. And there is also participation in religious practices. So they believe the Bible and the Quran are the same. They have the same message, and the difference is just the interpretation. And Ethiopian Orthodox Church and Islam worships the same God, and the adherents of EOC and Islam are saved. So Ethiopian Orthodox Church alone is legitimate church, and Ethiopian Orthodox Christians and Muslims are friends and brothers and sisters. So Ethiopian Muslims hold those 6 views, and even their pattern of relationship with Christian differs based on those views. So after analyzing those documents and the field data, then 5 different patterns of Christian-Muslim relations emerged from the data. So we can see that the Muslim view of Islam informs the patterns of Christian-Muslim relations. And when we look at the patterns of relationship, it is also nuanced and it's very complex. And the relationship between Muslims and Christians is very deep, and it has 5 different categories instead of binary models. Just here is a trend from the data. There are relationship patterns, and there are also reasons for dialogue. Why Muslims want to dialogue with Christians and how they do a dialogue. So in terms of relationship patterns, there are 5 different kinds of patterns. The first one is disengagement pattern. The second one is resentment. The third one is competition. The fourth one is tolerance and partnership. And the last one is harmony and assimilation. So those Muslims who prefer disengagement pattern, their reason for dialogue is mainly for polemic. And those who preferred resentment pattern, reason for dialogue is mainly for apologetics and polemics. But those who accepted or uphold the competition pattern, the reason for dialogue is da'wah, to win the souls. And those Muslims who accepted tolerance and partnership approach, the reason for dialogue is mutual understanding. And those Muslims who uphold harmony and assimilation, reason for dialogue is for mutual fecundation. So what is disengagement pattern mean? Actually, disengagement pattern, Muslims who live in Christian neighborhood tend to be more polemical, antagonistic, and militaristic. Those Muslims uphold this view are very antagonistic. They are mainly Salafi Muslims, especially the Takfiri groups. They are very polemical and antagonistic when they live together with Christian community. In this case, demography and theology has a big influence in this antagonistic Muslim approach to other faith communities. The second approach is the resentment pattern. Some Muslims developed a sense of resentment and hostility against Christians because of Ethiopian history. You know, they perceive Christians to be historical oppressors, and because of Muslims suffered all sorts of suppression and persecution under the Christian domination, especially after the 16th century. So because of this, some Muslims developed such kind of relationship pattern. So they prefer apologetics and polemics whenever they meet with their Christian neighbors or Christian friends for when they are doing a dialogue. The third pattern is the competition pattern. Muslims who hold this view, this pattern, acknowledge there is some truth in Christian faith, but they insist that conversion is a necessary for salvation. Unless Christians are converted to Islam, they will not be saved. So they believe whenever we approach them, we have to convert them. So Islamic dawah is used as a means for dialogue and for winning souls for Islam. So there is a huge competition between especially evangelical Christians and Muslims who hold such views. And the relationship between the two communities sometimes become intense and characterized by a strong sense of competition and debates. This is very common, especially in cities and in some towns, whenever there is evangelism to Muslims. The fourth one is the tolerance and partnership pattern. This pattern of relationship embraces the idea of unity and takes belief in one God as essential basis for agreement. So many Ethiopian Muslims actually uphold such kind of views, and they come together. They believe, both Muslims and Christians believe in the same God. So our relationship should be more conciliatory, and the goal of dialogue should be for mutual understanding and solidarity and tolerance and unity. So there is such kind of approach even in higher level in Ethiopian Islamic Council and Ethiopian Evangelical Church Fellowship. There is a council that was established to bring such kind of unity and solidarity between Muslims and Christian communities. So there exists a strong sense of community among them and without religious and ethnic discriminations. So the last one is actually it's a fascinating one. You know, it's very unique in Ethiopian context. So the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and traditional Sufi Muslims are prone to this harmony and assimilation pattern. So there is both social engagement and participation in the popular religious practice of the other group. So both Muslims and Christians, they take part in the religious practice of the other group, such as there is interreligious marriage between Muslims and Christians. There is participation in religious festivals, especially in Christian festivals, Ethiopian Orthodox Church festivals. The Muslims come and take part in such kind of festivals. And there is also conducting prayer or dua together. So whenever the Ethiopian Orthodox Christian person do a prayer, the Muslims say Amen. And when the Muslim person, a sheikh, perform dua, the Christians also join that prayer and they say Amen. And they also contribute money for church and mosque building. So the Christians contribute for mosque building and the Muslims contribute for church building. So dialogue is conducted in the context of everyday life in order to promote mutual fecundation and fraternity in this pattern of relationship. So religious borders are compromised or ignored in this kind of relationship. So the border between Islam and Christianity is very fluid, and the Christians visit the shrines of Muslim sheikhs, and even the Muslims visit the church to drink holy water. So there are actually factors that are influencing such patterns of relationship and even the Muslim view of Christianity. The first factor is social dynamics. The history of the first hijrah, the history of the first hijrah means when Muhammad was persecuted by his people from the Quraysh tribe, he sent his followers to Abyssinia, seeking refuge. So the Ethiopian king, the Christian Abyssinian king, receives them and he welcomes them. That history actually shaped the Muslim imagination of Christianity in Ethiopia. So the Ethiopian Muslims believe that Ethiopian Muslims are indebted to reciprocate with Christians in a positive way. So that history shapes the mind of Muslims, and they try to be more positive and conciliatory towards Christians. And the other social dynamics is indigenous solidarity associations. There are Idr and Dabo. Those solidarity associations are actually established to support the community. Whenever someone has social needs or any economic needs, so the community come together and support that person through these indigenous associations. Especially when someone dies, the family is comforted and supported both morally and economically through this solidarity association. So those solidarity associations and the history of the first hijrah influenced the Muslim attitudes towards Christians, especially in a positive way. So both Muslims and Christians, despite of gender or religious affiliation or ethnicity, all the community members come together and support each other. Even in Addis Ababa, where I am living, there are such kind of associations. So whenever someone dies, both Muslims and Christians come together, sit and eat together and comfort the family of the deceased. So those social dynamics have big influence on shaping both the Muslim and Christian attitudes towards the other group. The second factor is the Muslim theology of other religions. So theology led Muslims to adopt different Muslim views of Christianity and patterns of relationship with Christians. That means those Muslims who adopted exclusive view of other religions, they become more antagonistic, but Muslims who adopted inclusive or pluralistic view of other religions become more conciliatory, and they have a good relationship with other religious groups. The third factor is mainly unique to Ethiopian context, and competition for physical space and orderly religious expressions. Those competitions are happening in daily basis in Addis Ababa and even other places in the country. So Christians have often faced resistance when they start building churches in Muslim majority areas, and when Muslims also try to build a mosque in Christian majority area, they face the similar challenge. That means the Christians just resist, and sometimes that competition and that confrontation become more violent. And in some places, people were killed because of such kind of violence, and the relationship between the two communities become more strained. So the last one is ethnicity. In some societies, ethnic insider Christians were treated differently to those who were ethnic outsiders. The reason is when a Muslim person from that ethnic group accepts Christ, they are protected more than ethnic outsider Muslims who accepted Christianity. This is because of a strong sense of loyalty to their clan. So clan identity is more important. And whenever people from another clan try to threaten new believers from Islam, their immediate clan, the nearest clan, protects them, especially in Arisi from Oromo tribe. There is a place called Arisi. So they are so tribalistic, and they protect their members. And actually the church among Muslim community is growing in those areas because of this sense of loyalty to their clan. So the Muslim view of Christianity and the relationship patterns have implication for harmony, both for positive engagement and for interreligious conflict. So this is the reason is the Muslim-Christian relation have implication for interreligious harmony because of social capital, that which we may see in the society. The social capital actually determines the strength of the inter-religious and inter-faith relations. Actually, in this research, we find out two social capitals. The first one is the bonding capital. The second one is the bridging capital. The exclusive Muslim view of Christianity has played an important role in strengthening the bonding capital. That means those Muslims who have exclusive view, their bonding capital or the relationship between their members become more stronger than those who have inclusive view of Christianity. So this bonding capital increased the intra-group commitment and the self-esteem of the members by drawing religious borders that exclude religious outsiders. So in this case, theology and competition for physical space has played a vital role in the process of forming a favorable attitude towards in-group members and confrontational approach towards out-groups. So whenever Muslims and Christians have a theological debate, that forms the minds of Muslims and Christians to be more antagonistic towards the other group. And competition for physical space, when they want to build a church or a mosque, whenever there is resistance from the other group, so that pushed both Muslims and Christians to be more interested to the in-group relationship than out-group relationship. And the bonding capital encouraged Muslims towards interreligious competition and conflict. So those Muslim view of Christianity and Muslim-Christian relations actually influenced the way they form a relation or bond between the in-group and bonding with or bridging with the out-group. The acceptance, the mutuality and fulfillment Muslim view of Christianity, as we saw before, those views increase the level of bridging capital between Muslims and Christian communities in Ethiopia. That means this social capital promoted Muslim conciliatory approach to Christianity and interreligious engagement and harmony. So the social engagement of pluralistic and inclusive Muslims tend to be very strong, and they join the Christian social and religious events, sometimes by crossing the religious borders. So those who adopted especially the acceptance, restrictive acceptance view, they are more prone to Christianity, especially Ethiopian Orthodox Christianity, and they visit churches, and they have a strong relationship between those Muslims and Christians. Just to conclude, the Christian-Muslim relation in Ethiopia is complex and so complicated and characterized by 6 different Muslim views of Christianity and 5 patterns of community relationships. And theology, social dynamics, demography, and ethnicity played important role in influencing Christian-Muslim relations in Ethiopia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anwar.